I found out my parents had lied to me for almost my entire life on the day. They came back from that vacation, sunburned, smiling, and acting like they hadn't just detonated our family. And I'm still asking myself if the way I reacted makes me a terrible person or if anyone in my place would have snapped the same way. They told me they couldn't afford to take both of us, that money was tight, that sacrifices had to be made, and that my sister deserved it more because she needed it. But what I discovered after they returned changed how I see them forever. And I need you to tell me honestly, was I wrong for what I did next? Growing up, I was always the understanding one. That's what my parents liked to say about me. You're so mature for your age. My mom would tell relatives, smiling proudly while my sister Lily sat next to her rolling her eyes and tapping away on her phone. Lily was 2 years younger than me, but she was treated like she was made of glass. If she cried, the world stopped. If she wanted something, my parents bent over backward to make it happen. If I wanted something, I was told to wait, to be patient, to understand that life wasn't fair. I learned early on that love in our house wasn't divided equally. It was rationed, and somehow, I was always the one expected to survive on less. Don't get me wrong, my parents weren't monsters. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. My dad worked long hours at an insurance firm, and my mom did freelance bookkeeping from home. There was always food on the table, birthdays were celebrated, and Christmas mornings were still magical. But there was an unspoken rule in our family that Lily's happiness came first. If there was one slice of cake left, it went to her. If there was one seat available, she got it. If there was one opportunity, she took it. I told myself it didn't bother me, that being the older sibling meant being responsible. But deep down, every little thing stacked up like bricks on my chest. By the time I was 19, I was in college, working part-time at a cafe to cover my books and personal expenses because I didn't want to burden my parents. Lily was 17, still in high school, still living like the world owed her everything. That was when my parents sat me down at the kitchen table one evening, looking unusually serious. My mom clasped her hands together like she was about to deliver bad news, and my dad stared into his coffee mug like it held the answers to the universe. "We need to talk about the vacation," my mom said. I already knew what was coming, or at least I thought I did. Every summer we talked about going somewhere as a family, and every summer something came up. This year was supposed to be different. My dad had hinted at a beach trip, and I'd been quietly excited, not just about the vacation itself, but about the idea of finally being included, of feeling like part of the family instead of an afterthought. "We've looked at the numbers," my dad said slowly, "and we just can't afford to take everyone." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean, everyone?" I asked, even though I knew. My mom sighed. "We can only afford to take one of you with us this year." I waited, my heart pounding, hoping against hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd say my name. Instead, my mom reached out and put her hand over mine in that patronizing way she always did when she was about to disappoint me. "Lily's had a really stressful year," she said. "With school and her anxiety and everything. We think it would be really good for her." I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. "So you're taking Lily?" My dad nodded. "You understand, right? You're older. You get it." There it was. That phrase, "you understand." It wasn't a question, it was a command. I felt heat rising in my face, but I swallowed it down like I always did. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I understand." Lily, who had been pretending not to listen from the doorway, suddenly appeared with wide eyes. "Wait, really?" she asked, her voice already bubbling with excitement. "Like just me?" My mom smiled at her. "Yes, sweetheart, just you." Lily squealed and ran to hug my parents, barely glancing at me. "Oh my God, this is going to be amazing," she said. "I can't believe it." I forced a smile and excused myself, locking myself in my room before the tears could spill. I told myself I shouldn't be surprised. This was how it always went. Still, it hurt more than I expected. It wasn't just about the vacation. It was about being chosen, about being seen, and once again I wasn't. For weeks leading up to the trip, Lily talked about nothing else. The beach, the hotel, the shopping, the photos she was going to post. My parents were swept up in her excitement, planning outfits, booking excursions, acting like this was some well-deserved reward. No one asked how I felt. No one checked in. I was expected to smile, to wave them off, to hold down the fort while they made memories without me. The day they left, I stood in the driveway watching them load the car. Lily hugged me quickly, already half-turned toward the vehicle. "Sorry you couldn't come," she said, not sounding sorry at all. Next time, maybe. Have fun, I replied, my voice flat. As their car disappeared down the street, I went back inside the house that suddenly felt too quiet, too empty. I told myself I'd be fine. I had work, classes, friends. I didn't need a vacation. But as the days passed, and my parents sent pictures to the family group chat of Lily laughing on the beach, sipping fancy drinks, wearing new clothes, something inside me started to crack. Halfway through their trip, I got a call from my aunt, my mom's sister. She sounded cheerful at first, asking how I was doing, how school was going. Then she casually said, "Your parents must be having a blast. That resort is gorgeous." I frowned. What resort? "The one in Cancun?" she said. "I saw the pictures on Facebook. 5-star right on the beach. Must have cost a fortune." My heart skipped. "Cancun?" I repeated. I thought they were just going to Florida. There was a pause. "Oh," my aunt said slowly. "Did they not tell you?" The room felt like it was tilting. "Tell me what?" Another pause, heavier this time. Well, never mind. I'm sure they explained it. She changed the subject quickly, but it was too late. My mind was racing. Cancun, 5-star resort, cost a fortune. That didn't line up with "we can't afford to take two." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. Every word my parents had said. Something felt off. The next morning, curiosity turned into determination. I logged into the family computer, the one my parents used for finances, something I'd never done before. I told myself I was just looking, just confirming my suspicions. What I found made my hands shake. They could afford it. Not only could they afford to take both of us, but they could afford luxury. The hotel alone was more than what they'd ever spent on a family vacation before. There were charges for excursions, shopping, expensive restaurants. And buried in the bank statements was something else that made my stomach twist. A separate savings account labeled Lily Future, with thousands of dollars in it. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. It wasn't about money. It never had been. They hadn't chosen Lily because they had to. They'd chosen her because they wanted to. I spent the rest of their trip in a haze of anger and heartbreak. Every picture they sent felt like a slap in the face. Every smiling caption felt like a lie. By the time they came home, I wasn't sad anymore. I was furious. So that's the situation I was in, sitting alone in my room, knowing my parents were about to walk back into my life like nothing had happened, and I had to decide whether to keep swallowing it like I always did or finally say something. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and think about what you would have done in my shoes. Would you confront them? Would you let it go? Would you walk away entirely? When they pulled into the driveway, I didn't rush out to greet them. I stayed upstairs, listening to the sounds of luggage being dragged inside, Lily's excited chatter echoing through the house. Eventually, my mom called my name. "We're home!" I took a deep breath and went downstairs. They all looked so happy, so relaxed. Lily was glowing, already scrolling through her phone, probably posting another photo. My parents smiled at me like everything was normal. "Did you miss us?" my mom asked. I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at my dad. "How was Cancun?" The smiles froze. Lily's head snapped up. "How did you know?" she asked. My mom's face went pale. "Who told you?" "So it's true," I said, my voice shaking despite my efforts to stay calm. "You went to Cancun, a 5-star resort, after telling me you couldn't afford to take both of us." My dad set his bags down slowly. "We can explain." "I'm sure you can," I said bitterly. "You're really good at explaining why Lily gets everything." "That's not fair," my mom snapped, defensive now. "You don't understand." "No," I said, laughing humorlessly. "I understand perfectly. I saw the bank statements. I saw the savings account. You didn't take me because you didn't want to." The room went silent. Lily looked between us, confused and uncomfortable. "What's going on?" she asked. "This doesn't concern you," my dad said sharply. "It concerns me," I shot back. "It's always concerned me. My entire life you've chosen her over me, and you told me to understand. Well, I'm done understanding." My mom's eyes filled with tears. "We did what we thought was best." "For who?" I asked. "For her? Because it definitely wasn't best for me." The argument exploded from there. Years of resentment poured out of me. Every slight, every missed opportunity, every time I'd been told to wait or sacrifice. My parents tried to defend themselves, to justify their choices, but their words rang hollow. In that moment, something inside me snapped. "I'm done," I said finally. "I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not being the afterthought." I packed a bag that night and left. I stayed with a friend at first, then found a small apartment near campus. I stopped answering my parents' calls. I blocked Lily on social media. It wasn't dramatic or impulsive. It felt necessary. The aftermath wasn't easy. My parents were furious at first, then desperate. They left voicemails apologizing, saying they missed me, that they'd made mistakes. Lily sent me a message weeks later, saying she didn't know that she was sorry if I felt hurt, but the damage was done. It's been a year now. I've built a life on my own terms. I still think about them sometimes, about what might have been if they'd chosen differently. But I also feel lighter, freer, like I finally chose myself. So that's my story. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should have stayed and tried to fix things. Or maybe walking away was the only way to stop the cycle. If you were on my side, like this video, subscribe for more stories like this. And share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.